Hey everyone, how's it going? Good to see you all. For those of you who are new here, my name is Vipin Singh, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about money and wealth. So if you want to get wealthy beyond your wildest dreams, you cannot afford to skip today's video. Well, okay, a slight exaggeration, but do stick around, and I bet you will find it useful. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive right in. Over the last few weeks in conversations with a few of my friends, I've realized that despite the slew of information available now, some of us are still very naive and unaware regarding matters of money, savings and investing. In part, I'm making this video for those friends. To them and to anyone else watching who has not thought about this topic yet, it's really high time you do. As they say, the best time to begin investing was 10 years ago, but the second best time is now. So go get him. Actually, hold on. Listen to what I gotta say, then go get him. We will not get into the weeds today, but talk about some hard fundamental truths about our psyche that you should be aware of as you start this important journey. In a subsequent video, I'll share some more practical tips. So today I'll talk about some of my personal learnings over the years and how they interestingly got reinforced when I recently read the book, The Psychology of Money. I was quite happy to realize that some of the traits of a patient investor and a wealth accumulator I had been displaying unknowingly for quite some time now. What I'll not talk about today are the benefits of compounding, which every Instagram influencer has already told you about. Now, my first takeaway from the book is the idea of the implicit price of investing in the markets. When you go buy a car or some fancy clothes, there's a price tag attached and you see it right away. It's explicit, it's right there in front of your eyes. Now, the equity markets have the capability to make you extremely rich in the long run, but participation in that growth also comes at a price. This particular price, though, is not very explicit. It is not in the form of a price tag that you see on your favorite J. Crew shirt, or more like my favorite J. Crew shirt. The markets over a long period of time almost always go up, but they can have some pretty wild swings along the way. I'll share a few examples. Now, Nifty 50 is an index of India's top 50 companies market cap wise. Its growth or decline is generally indicative of the overall market. This index, Nifty 50, fell 33% from February 7th to April 3rd, 2020 due to COVID. If you had invested 100 rupees in a fund that tracked this index, it became 67 rupees. Quite a plunge, I would say. The same index fell 52% from December 2007 to December 2008 due to the mortgage crisis in the US. S&P 500 similarly is an index of the top 500 companies in the US market cap wise. This index fell 32% from 14th of February to March of 20th, 2020, again due to COVID. And the same index fell 42% from October 2007 to February 2009 due to the financial crisis in the US. You get the idea, right? We can look at many other events and go all the way back to the Great Depression of 1929. All these impacted the markets in a big way. And when the markets fell 20%, 30% or even 50%, a lot of investors got really spooked and cut their losses and took their money out. That is, they bought high and sold really low. Pretty much at the worst time to sell, losing big money in the process. But people who could stay invested even in those periods got rewarded really handsomely in the following years. But you can bet that it must have been really hard to hold on and stay invested during those periods. And that is the price of investing in equity markets. The heartburn you live with, the panic and paranoia you face, the immense worry you endure regarding the future of your family during such events. Now, there are ways to make yourself robust and ready for such events, and we'll talk about them in a subsequent video. But for now, know this. This is the implicit price of investing in equity markets. It's not imminently visible, but it's there. No price, no entry, no pain, no gain, right? My second takeaway is this idea of having enough. We all struggle with this, right? With respect to our money and possibly our professions too. We work really hard to get to a certain point, to that elusive shiny goal. And as soon as we get there, it loses its sheen. Why? Because now the goalpost has moved to another place, someplace even shinier. The book takes two examples, Rajat Gupta and Bernie Madoff. Okay, real quick, who are these guys? Rajat Gupta started his life as an orphan in Calcutta, India, and went on to be the CEO of McKinsey, the consulting giant, and he also had roles with the World Economic Forum and the UN. By 2008, he was reportedly worth $100 million. Bernie Madoff was an American financier who ran a widely successful business as a market maker on Wall Street, once again worth millions of dollars. Despite the millions, both of them were so desperate for even more money that they risked it all, their entire reputation and well-being. Rajat Sharma got jailed for insider trading, and Bernie Madoff got jailed and then died in prison for duping investors in the world's largest Ponzi scheme. Beyond a certain point, we already have enough. But we will never have enough if we keep moving the financial goalpost of our lives. I quote from the book, the hardest financial skill is to get the goalpost to stop moving. I'll repeat, the hardest financial skill is to get the goalpost to stop moving. Whoa, that was a bit harder than what it needed to be. Interestingly, many years back, I had come across a video on YouTube. Don't remember what it was all about, but there was an African American woman talking about how if you've done reasonably well in your work, by a certain age, you made all the huge purchases in your life that you require. A house, a car, a big TV, and so on. And post that, your expenses should really be static adjusted for inflation. But that doesn't happen, does it? And that is because people keep growing their lifestyle ever more. More money begets more wants require more money. It's a vicious cycle. That message somehow deeply resonated with me all those years back. And the idea is also very closely related to this other idea of your percentage savings rate going up as your earnings increase. And that is super important. If you can make your lifestyle consistent, as you earn more, every extra dollar you earn will go into your savings. With an increased savings rate, even if you earn 2 to 3% less returns as compared to another investor, you'll be much better off. And controlling your savings rate is much easier as compared to gaining that extra 2 to 3% in the market. And if you don't trust me, ask the thousands of fund managers trying to beat the market every single year and coming up short. My third takeaway is the idea of saving money for its own sake. Now, a lot of people tend to save money with a specific goal in mind. Saving for a house, saving for a car, or saving for that trip overseas, and so on and so forth. While all of that is great, and it probably helps a bit in the larger scheme of things, the one thing that most people miss is saving for the sake of saving. Why? Because life is unpredictable. Take a pause and think about what happened with COVID. So many people lost their livelihood. So many people got burdened with hospitalization bills even as they struggled with a deep personal loss. How unpredictable, how unknowable it all was. Or go back to the 9/11 attacks and think how that one single event completely changed our world. Nassim Taleb calls such events black swan events, though not COVID. A black swan event is an extremely negative event or occurrence that is impossibly difficult to predict. In other words, black swan events are events that are unexpected and unknowable. And that is where your savings come into play. They provide you the robustness you need to tide over such events. Invariably, these events affect the markets and the economies adversely. And if you don't have a financial cushion, then you will have to dig into your financial investments at the worst possible time. One, you'll have to sell at the lowest prices for meeting your immediate needs. And two, you'll have to break the compounding cycle of your investments, which works the best only when left untouched for several years or even decades. Now, a few years ago, I got into the idea of minimalism. And while it has helped me declutter my life in so many ways, it also most definitely helped me not waste money on things I don't need. And looking into minimalism as a way of life has been my recommendation to many people for the last several years. Well, the less you spend, the more you save. Tyler Durden would also tell you, you're not the car you drive, you're not your fucking khakis. Okay, so I've rambled on for a bit today, but this is important stuff. If it helps anyone I know get started on this journey, I'll consider it worth the time I spent. Hopefully you found it useful too. If you did, do consider sharing and subscribing. Thanks, and I'll see you all soon again.